Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Cartier Santos WSSA0018. This watch is available from Chronex.com for €7,250. You can purchase the watch from Chronex.com online or alternatively in person at their boutiques. All their watches are Chronex certified original by their in-house watchmakers, and all their watches are covered by the Chronex 24-month warranty. So firstly, let's look at the items one gets with a watch, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the Cartier Santos comes with this owner's instruction manual, which is translated into multiple foreign languages, clear concise diagrams, and the instructions are also in English and easy to follow. One also gets this warranty booklet, and one also gets a tool for the bracelet. And this is the plastic warranty card that comes with the piece. This is a brand new unworn 2021 piece, and you can see the date of purchase was the 15th of April 2021. So one gets this Cartier deployant clasp. Cartier invented the deployant clasp, but needless to say, this is one of the best executed deployant clasps I have seen. Nice, crisp, positive action to the 2-button push deployant, finished to perfection throughout, and as Cartier invented the deployant clasp, they make some of the best quality deployant clasps in the watch industry, and as you can see, it's signed on the underside with Cartier. So this is for the calf leather strap, which I'll show you. Absolutely gorgeous quality calf leather strap, flawless stitching throughout, plenty of holes to fine tune the length, and it really is a very high grade. This is really a top tier calf leather strap. Now interestingly, it doesn't use conventional spring bars, it uses a quick release system which is designed by Cartier, so one doesn't need a spring bar tool to exchange the bracelet for this calf leather strap. It has a quick release locking mechanism which snaps in and out of the head of the piece, and that is innovative, and Cartier deserve full credit for coming up with their own unique system for the quick release. So I'll show you the other side of the strap. So it has a quick release spring bar in one side to attach to the deployant, but the end of the strap that fits to the head of the piece has the quick release system, which simply has a button one depresses to release the strap, and also the same system on the bracelet, which I'll show you. Absolutely flawless finishing to the stitching, perfectly smooth on the top side and underside, and a very aesthetically pleasing honey tone to it. It's padded, so it's thicker and more reinforced at the head of the piece end, and it gradually tapers down to the deployant clasp end. So just an absolutely beautiful strap, and it's very flexible despite being quite thick. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Cartier Santos reference WSSA0018. We have a 37.7mm case width at the widest point, and that excludes the crown guards. We have a lug-to-lug measurement of 47.5mm, a thickness of 9.4mm, and the bracelet is 21mm. So the lug width is 21mm, and the bracelet tapers from 21mm at the lugs down to the 2-button push deployant. As you can see, the deployant clasp is signed with the Cartier emblem, and it's one of the greatest deployant clasps I've experienced. Good frame resistance to the 2-button push triggers, and it snaps open with a nice positive click, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. The finishing on this deployant clasp is some of the best I've seen, and it really does represent the very best of Cartier deployant clasp making. Brushed satin finish to the top side, underside and flanks. The spring-loaded resistance is absolutely silky smooth. Now it is a handed clasp, one has to fold the left hand portion first and then the right hand portion on top of it, and it's got a nice positive crisp click to both the left hand and the right hand portion, and needless to say, the interfacing of both halves of the deployant is just done to perfection. So it's an incredibly well made, well engineered 2-button push deployant clasp, which is an absolute pleasure to use. With regards to the rest of the specification, one of my favourite aspects is the curved sapphire crystal. As you can see, rather than being flat or double domed, it has a curved profile which matches the head of the piece, and it's just incredibly low profile. It's gorgeous to look at, and it has clear AR coating on the underside, which is highly effective. The silver dial has an opal finish to it, which is just absolutely sublime to look at, and I like the use of the large black contrasting Roman numerals, and it's just a really well executed dial design, purist Cartier collectors will appreciate the design execution. The Santos really does capture the essence of Art Deco design with the blued hands and also the Roman numerals. And the date complication is framed at 6, and white date wheel with black Arabic numerals is clearly legible. Perfect symmetry to the dial, and I love the styling of it. It's just perfection personified. The screwed down bezel is mirror polished to a flawless finish, and it's absolutely gorgeous to look at the way it catches the light and it follows the curved profile of the head of the piece. This is clearly a high tier piece because when one looks at the brushed satin finishing to the flanks of the case, the luster is some of the best I've seen. This is 316L grade stainless steel, but as you can see, it's brushed satin finished to such a high extent. The grains of the stainless steel can be seen clearly as they catch the light. The luster is just incredible. This really is top tier quality finishing. Nice large chamfer machined on the edge of the case, which marks the transition between the tops of the lugs and the flanks, and that chamfer follows all the way down the case, as you can see. Just absolutely gorgeous. Flawless mirror polishing to the chamfers on both edges of the case. Pointed profile to the crown guards, and also it's got a nice jewel which is blue coloured on the cap of the push-pull crown. So let's test the crown action. Now it may come as a surprise to you, but this uses a push-pull crown rather than a screw-down crown. So in the closed position, one can manually wind the movement, which is the caliber 1847 MC, which is an in-house Cartier caliber. Absolute pleasure to manually wind the caliber 1847 MC. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up to its maximum 42-hour power reserve. So pulling it out to the first click position is the date setting position, and if you rotate the crown clockwise, if you look closely at the 6 o'clock position, you can see the quick set complication works as one would expect, and it feels an absolute pleasure both to manually wind it and also to use the quick set complication to set the date. Pulling it out to the second click position is the time setting position, and if you look at the second hand, you can see I have now hacked the movement. The movement has hand winding and hacking. Absolute pleasure to set the time. It feels silky smooth. Now it's a nice firm resistance to it, which I actually like. I like to feel the resistance in the gearing because it means it's a good solid movement with no play, and I really like the feeling of it. So it feels very similar to a ETA movement in terms of resistance, such as the ETA 2824-2. It's got that kind of feeling to it, but the caliber 1847 MC is an in-house caliber made by Cartier. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. So the push-pull crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 metres of water resistance, and I really like the feeling of it because of its flat profiles to the hexagonal shape of it. It's very tactile and easy to grip, so one can get good purchase of it, and also it's low profile, so it doesn't dig into the back of the hand when flexing the wrist, and also the addition of the blue jewel means that it's very smooth and comfortable against the back of the hand. And the crown guards, although they're pointed, are finished to perfection, so they don't feel sharp. There's no sharp edges of burrs, and the case is finished to perfection as I've discussed. Right, so let's look at the case back. It has a solid stainless steel case back, which is engraved to a very high standard with the specifications of the piece. One detail I like about the case back is it isn't flat. It's actually got a convex profile to it and actually curves like the case. So the curved profile of the case back means that it fits very snugly and flat against the wrist with no gap, and that makes for a very comfortable wearing experience when wearing the piece for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. So the case back is screwed down to the head of the piece, and it provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 metres of water resistance. And as I've discussed, both the bracelet and also the calf leather strap don't use conventional spring bars. If you look closely at the end links, you'll see that they use the quick release system. So one simply depresses the quick release, and that will disengage the end links in the bracelet from the head of the piece, and one can snap in the calf leather strap instead of the using a spring bar and spring bar tool. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now it is a tight fit to get across my hand, so I'm just going to remove my glove and then I can just get it across my hand, and I'll give you a wrist shot. Now I haven't sized the bracelet and this will just fit, as you can see, my 8-inch wrist, although it does feel tight. So for comfort, I would like to have an extra 1 or 2 links. But for the majority of collectors with a 6 to 7-inch wrist, this bracelet will fit you no problem whatsoever, and it will easily fit up to a 7.5-inch wrist with no problems whatsoever. The screws in each of the links mean that it's easy to resize the bracelet using the included bracelet resizing tool. And I really like it. Now, this is a brand new unworn 2021 piece, so it still has the protective films from the Cartier factory, as you can see on the top side of the bracelet. But I can tell you that the finishing to the links on this bracelet are just incredible. The brushed satin finishing is some of the best finishing I have ever seen on a watch. It really is high tier level finishing, which fully justifies this being a high tier piece at €7,250. Now, one thing I really like about it is the snug fit to the wrist. As I've discussed, it has a curved profile to both the underside of the case and also the case back rather than being flat. So it's got no gap whatsoever. This wraps around the wrist with the curved profile to the head of the piece, including the curved sapphire crystal. And it's an incredibly low profile piece for an automatic. It's only 9.4mm thick. And that's the kind of thickness one would expect to see with a manual wind piece or alternatively a quartz powered piece rather than an automatic. The caliber 1847 MC is an automatic movement with a rotor, so I would expect this piece to be 13mm, but 9.4mm is just incredible low profile. And it's a credit to Cartier's caliber making and also to their watchmaking that they're able to make an automatic piece like this Santos at only 9.4mm thick. It's a very low profile piece, and needless to say, it's easily going to slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts, so an ideal daily wear piece. Just absolutely gorgeous to look at, the curved sapphire crystal and the curved mirror polished bezel, which is finished to perfection. I love the way there's a slight distortion with the curved sapphire crystal. It's just absolutely gorgeous when one tilts the piece at an oblique angle. It's got that classic Art Deco style design from the 1920s, and it really does capture the essence of the very best of Cartier design. The Santos really is a purist Cartier collector's piece. With regards to the proportions, this is perfection personified. 47.5mm is very close to perfection. As you'll know from my previous reviews, I consider 48mm to be the sweet spot. That is the perfect lug-to-lug measurement. At 47.5, it is very close to the 48mm perfection. The 21mm lug width perfectly balances the 47.5mm width of the case. And I just love the proportions of it. It's just a very practical daily wear piece. And it could also potentially be worn as a dress piece on the calf leather strap, which I've shown you. Nice to have the option of wearing it on the bracelet or alternatively the calf leather strap, because one could wear it on the bracelet as a daily wear piece, or alternatively one could wear it on the calf leather strap as a dress piece, so it's an incredibly versatile piece. 100 metres of water resistance is perfectly acceptable for a daily wear piece or dress piece. As you can see, clearly legible. The silver opal finish dial is just beautiful. It's got an almost matte white tone to it, but it's actually a silver opal finish to it. And I really like the contrasting black Roman numerals and also the blued hands, which add interest to the handset. So, very comfortable piece to wear for long periods of time. The feel-good factor and the comfort level are both outstanding. Right, so just bear with me, and I'm going to put my glove back on, and then I'll continue. Right, so let's discuss the movement used in the piece. This uses the caliber 1847 MC, which is an in-house Cartier caliber. It has 23 joules, it runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. So it has hand binding and hacking, which are useful complications, and this one has been very well regulated. It's running consistently at plus 5 seconds per day, which is actually within COSC chronometer limits of -4 to +6 seconds per day. So it's an accurate, reliable, well-proven movement. No negatives to it whatsoever. Hand binding and hacking are useful complications, and it's the correct choice. The caliber 1847 MC is a well-respected Cartier caliber. So I really like it. Now, as you'll know from my previous reviews, one thing I really like about 4 Hz movements is if you look closely at the second hand, you can see that it has a very smooth sweep to it. And that's a characteristic of 4 Hz movements. They have a very smooth sweep to the second hand because they run at 28,800 vibrations per hour. So I like everything about the movement. There's nothing I would change about the piece. I think that really Cartier have made the correct choice by using an in-house caliber rather than using an ETA caliber, which is modified, for example. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet two criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price points. So the price point of this piece is €7,250. Clearly it's a high tier piece. Yes, I consider it to be excellent quality, and yes, I consider it to be excellent value at €7,250. This piece is perfection personified. It is the perfect daily wear piece. There are no negatives to it whatsoever. There is nothing I would change about it. Everything about it is just done to a flawless finish. The quality of the finishing to the head of the piece is some of the best I've seen. Particularly the brushed satin finishing is really top tier grade. It's just incredible. The mirror polishing is also top tier grade, and it's a credit to Cartier because they have produced a very well executed head of the piece, a very well executed bracelet, and as I've discussed, the deployant clasp is one of the best in the Swiss watchmaking industry. Absolutely finished to perfection, but also in terms of its execution, it's an absolute pleasure to operate because the quality of the engineering in the deployant clasp is 10 out of 10. So there are no negatives to the piece, and this is something that's unusual. Usually when I review a watch on my channel, I can find something I dislike, a criticism or some points which need to be improved, but this really is the perfect Cartier piece. The Santos reference WSSA0018 is one of the greatest Cartier watches ever made. So I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Cartier Santos. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.